Hey guys, welcome to my review of my 2009 Ducati Monster 696. In this video, we'll cover the whole spectrum of what it's like to own a Ducati Monster 696. I've had the bike for over 4,000 miles now, so I've spent some quality time with this motorcycle. So today, we'll go over its performance, what it's like to live with it on a daily basis, its aesthetics, some of the modifications that I've done to the motorcycle, and what it's like to just generally live with the bike. So stay tuned, guys. So let's start with the performance. This is an L-twin 696cc motorcycle. On paper it produces, it says, almost 80 horsepower and about 40 foot-pounds of torque. On the bike that weighs 350 pounds. This is my third Ducati. I've had the Monster 800, the Monster 620, and then now the 696. To me, this power is great. It's got 80 horsepower, it's got plenty of go on the freeway. I've gotten it significantly north of 100 miles an hour. The fastest I've gone on this thing is about 135. So plenty of power for your daily commute, your highway rides, canyon rides, things like that. Really have no problem with the engine whatsoever. Its mid-range torque is really useful when it comes to passing, get up and go. Its low-end grunt is what makes it really the most exciting part of a Ducati Monster. Once you do get to the upper RPMs, it redlines at 9,000. I really don't use that section of that bike. It loves being in the 6 to 7, 8,000 RPM range, but you really run out of power towards the top section. Worst part about the motor, really the 2-up power. And honestly, my girlfriend's a tiny, and my girlfriend's small, so yeah, 2-up power is really where the motor is lacking. You know, especially you got a girl back there, you want to show off the Ducati and you go for it, and there just isn't that much thrilling power there. When it's just me on the bike, I weigh 180 pounds, 175 there, it's perfect. But when you go 2-up, it really bogs down that power. So motor's great, but with performance also comes the braking aspect of it. This bike has Brembo's in the front and the rear. The braking power on this bike is phenomenal. Really good brake feel when doing canyon riding or just general sweeping turns type of riding. I never really have an issue with the brakes ever giving up on me. So I love the brakes on this bike. General suspension, compared to my other Ducatis, I thought the 800 had better power. The 620, even though it's only a handful of cc's different, that 620 was so much slower than this 696. So the 800 had a fantastic motor, but this chassis and suspension setup is so much better. So I had an 03 Monster 800, great motor. The suspension was good, but when I jumped onto this motorcycle, the 696 with this suspension and this chassis, I've worked from the 03 to 09, man, great setup on the chassis, so much more balanced and a lot more flickable when it came to corners. So this gives me a lot more confidence. As soon as I jumped on the bike and started taking sweeping turns, it's like, this suspension is that much better. So great upgrade from the 03 Monster 800 to this bike. When it comes to the looks of the motorcycle, honestly, I used to not like how these bikes looked. I had an 03, like I was saying, and I thought those looked way better. But after owning this for about almost a year now with 4,000 miles, it's really grown on me. I love the white. The headlight I thought was a funky looking headlight, but it got a little better. I thought that bikini fairing was kind of a weird thing, but that got alright. Favorite part is the whole rear section of the motorcycle, the seat cowl, and this comes off super easy. I'll do a separate videos of how to take the seat cowl off and things like that. But yeah, I love the fact that the suspension coil on the rear sticks out. Aesthetically, on the motor side, I think these things kind of take away from the beauty of the engine. On my 800, this was a lot more visible, so this is good to me, but this bike's more of a package versus a detailed motorcycle. the older Monsters to me were a lot of good detail looks. The trellis frame looked different than the older bikes. These, you have the trellis frame here, and then this kind of casted rear section. So bike still looks great. Really good plastics. This tank, these are all just covers, but the bike grew on me. The bike really grew on me. Upgrades I have on the motorcycle are, I took out the mirrors. I took out the mirrors on these, switched them over to bar ends. Really cleans up the front end of the motorcycle. I switched these over, so now I'm running adjustable CNC levers, which I love these. The stock ones were just pretty boring, and these to me just offered so much more adjustability on the clutch and on the braking side. I didn't get to mention yet, but this has a hydraulic clutch, which is just so good in traffic. It's consistent. It doesn't wear out my hand like I've had other motorcycles, so I love me a hydraulic clutch. Visibility on these kind of cheaper bar end mirrors are fine, so I've never had an issue with those, and I really just prefer them. They're right in my eyesight, so love it. I've upgraded the exhaust here. The stock ones were just too quiet, and once you put these on, the bike just becomes a whole nother monster. I've gone through a rear tire already, so I'm on Michelin's now. And other modifications is the fender eliminator, and I've gone with an integrated tail light, so the turn signals are part of the brake lights now. So I like that. Really cleans up the rear end. I have a spare tank here because I've hitchhiked way too many times when my motorcycles run out. So to me, that's a nice little bit of insurance to know that I've got a third of a gallon in case I ever run out of gasoline. Those are really my main. Oh, this is an upgraded screen. This is an MRA screen. The original one is clear and it sits about here, so this little extra bit, big fan of. Looks great, it functions well, and those are my main modifications. Here's your dash overview of the Ducati Monster. On your left, you've got your high beam, low beam. That's pretty straightforward. Your blinkers, left, right, push in to cancel, horn. And this is your high beam, so you can grab this with your index finger and pull the high beam, which is really nice for splitting lanes. You can just flicker this, and you can see the high beam going up and down like that. This changes your dash, the battery, RPM, light settings, lap times, memory clear, all that. You can change the time. On your right here, you have your kill switch, which is normal, and your electric start. That's pretty much it. You have your Rev Counter, and your miles per hour usually shows up right here. Let's just see that again. So there you go, 696. Your miles per hour is here, and this is also your gauge for your temperature, which is really nice. When you're riding, you can cycle through this. It'll show you time, trip meter. If you hit the low fuel light, it'll reset it, so you'll have miles since the low fuel light has turned on. It also has your odometer and outside temperature. So that's what's on the dash of a Ducati Monster. Let's talk ergonomics. I am 5'10", 175 pounds. Dead on the average for an adult male. I am fully flat-footed on the floor. I have a good reach on my handlebars here. So really secure, stop signs, good balance of the bike. When I'm on the motorcycle, I usually ride on the balls of my feet. This is about what I look like. The tuck position, pretty comfortable in the tuck position. They've got good cutouts on the knees. They've got good cutouts on the tank here. Modifications I would definitely add are the tank pads. This bike, let me show you. This bike has a slope on the seat, so when I'm on there, I tend to slide up. And as a male, that gets to be an issue about 30 minutes into your ride. So a tank pad keeps you from sliding too much. Almost a necessity, in my opinion, on this motorcycle. So here we go. We're putting tags on the tuck position. Windscreen really is doing a lot of the work getting that over you. Really comfortable bike. I've taken this from Southern California all the way out through Arizona. I've gone on long rides on this motorcycle and it's fairly comfortable. It isn't a back-breaking kind of bike. You can see these bars are high. It ain't enough like the R6 back there. It's higher up. It's a comfortable position, and it's good for long rides. Like I said, I've done cross-state rides in this thing, and really been no problem. So for your passengers, I've taken off the rear seat cowl cover, which is a really easy job to do. So you can see how much space your passenger will have. That's a lot of real estate for a sport bike passenger seat. But let me show you what it looks like. Because there's a little thing down here at the bottom. There's actually finger grooves back here, which are super nice and ergonomic for your passenger. They fit your fingers just nice, and they've got something to hang on to. Well, I prefer they hang on to me, but if they don't want to, they've got little finger grooves down here. So little secret about the Monsters, they've got finger grooves. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. The worst part about owning Ducatis. Freaking maintenance. By 2003, Monster 620 and 800 had 6,000 mile service intervals. This is a whopping 7,500 mile service interval. So every 7,500 miles you have to get valve adjustments, timing belt, or 2 years, whatever happens first on the timing belt, because that's necessary. I've also had the battery go out on this bike. I've had the brake pads replaced. There's normal oil changes and tires. That's pretty much what I've done to this bike. I've only owned it for 4,000 miles, and I've already had to do all of that. This bike had a valve adjustment, cost me damn near $1,000. The tires cost, depending where you go, $150 each. The battery was $80. I bought the brake pads at the dealership. That was $90. Oil changes on this bike require top-end oil, so that cost me about $70 every time. And that's the reality of it. That's what it costs, and that's what it takes to keep these things running. It's not great. I'm going to be honest. So what do I think of the bike? Overall, I really enjoyed my time with this Ducati Monster. It was plenty fast. I've had faster, but it's fast enough. I got a really good deal on it, so I didn't have to pay the sticker shock of $10,000 for this bike. I got it used, and I rode it for 4,000 miles, and it treated me well. The only bad things that ever happened to me was the battery died on me, which is an absolute pain to get to. But besides that, the bike's been good. The maintenance, it's expected. It's a Ducati after all, you know this going into the motorcycle. So if you know what you're getting, you're not gonna get a super sport. You're not gonna get a Japanese reliable or Japanese low-cost maintenance motorcycle. You're getting an Italian sport bike. Then it really establishes an expectation for the motorcycle, and then that's when you really start to just forget about the quirks and just enjoy the package for what it is, which is a well-balanced. I forgot to show you, this is your advancer. This is not a choke. It looks like a choke. It behaves like a choke, but what it does is it picks up your idle. So when you have here, there's a cam that pulls on your valve body pulley, and it raises the idle speed. So when it's cold, you pull that on a little bit. When it gets warm, you can turn that off.